Good morning, everybody. I know you hear my dryer in the background. That's because Real with Robo comes to you in reality time. Meaning if I'm doing laundry, you gonna do laundry with me.
But I'll pull up the door so they can't hear it bad.
So just try to bear with me. I got to thinking last night after seeing all this hatred toward white people and cops. I wonder, what the hell the world talking about? So I went and looked around, and I read the thing from Avaz. There's this little petition running around, and it's to ensure officers are held accountable. They already are. Avaz. Fire and prosecute all officers accused of aggressive force or excessive force. They already are. Avaz.
That's what internal affairs is for.
Ensure police killings are independently and transparently investigated. They already are. Avaz. Now I want to read something that BLM put. And BLM, they always know how to touch my soul. Let's see what they say. BLM. We will be assassinating white families until justice is served. We will set up in white neighborhoods and cities. It's time to act. All white people must pay for their sins. They are evil and jealous people. Let's see you mourn over your families for once. White babies, old people, lawyers, police, etc. P.S. There are over 100 of us. The mission will be done. Okay, now I find this interesting.
Welcome to the terrorist watch list.
Yeah, they're not going to get on the terrorist watch list because they're BLM, and right now the whole country is too afraid. They don't want to do a faux pas. Oh my God, we've got to be PC and understanding that all these 20-year-olds running around, they were slaves. I don't think so.
Slaves to what? Their stupidity?
Probably ignorance, laziness. Anyway, so I'm going to break this threat down. All right. I'm seeing here that they're going to be posted up in white neighborhoods. Well, that'd be great. That'd be great, because a white person would probably bring you some kind of welcome to the neighborhood gift. But it would also be great because, unfortunately, in white neighborhoods, as you call them, I call them blue-collar neighborhoods because there's a mixture of races that live there, and they're all working-class people. And, yeah, they sort of call the cops on bad actors, or people they view as bad actors. So, I mean, you could go post up in a white neighborhood, but I would suggest being under the guise of a new neighbor. Because if they feel you're out of place there, you're probably going to be talking to the cops soon. Anyway.
Or the end of the gun.
Anyway, I find it interesting that you say they must pay for their sins. Like, who died and made you God? Who? I want to know, did God Almighty, did Yahweh die? And on his deathbed he said, hey, you know what? Let me make BLM God. And determine judgment for people. If I'm not correct, the judgment for BLM people were gun charges, gun running, gun smuggling, rape, molestation. Should I go on? I mean, just saying that we're evil and sinful. Let's bring it all to light.
Oh, and while we're on that subject, for all of you who are in church right now, who are in BLM, who agree with this, y'all need to be slapped and then slapped again.
And you need Jesus.
Because obviously you ain't getting him in church.
True story. Now, what I get a kick out of, let's see you mourn over your families for once. White babies, old people. Guys, the majority of white people are not babies or old people. They're my age. Why'd you leave us out? I'm wondering. I mean, I'm concerned. I'm kind of upset. I'm definitely offended. Well, oh, that's right, because we can protect ourselves. Our elderly cannot, unless you find one of our elderly that is like me, and they're on a hot streak that day, and they'll be the one. They'll be the one for you. Babies, you're threatening babies. My. How exquisitely adult of you. Why, no, black people aren't violent. People in BLM aren't violent. What is this, like your third threat to white people? Come on.
Oh, and by the way, quit taking your tactics out of the Hezbollah playbook. It really, really doesn't do you any good.
They want to kill white babies, white lawyers, white cops, and white elderly. Let's think why. White lawyers, why was that put in there? Oh yeah, that's right, because white lawyers are usually the ones that are prosecuting your ass. White cops, because they're usually the ones that's arresting your ass. White elderly, because the elderly have a harder time defending themselves.
So they're the ones who call the cops on their ass.
However, if they knew white elderly, like some of the white elders that I know,
Especially out here?
you know, especially the Marines that I know from Vietnam and Korea and World War II, they wouldn't be too quick to pick on the elderly.
No, but I also guarantee you they're not doing this in, how shall we say, the backwoods kind of neighborhoods.
Oh yeah.
We're going to be going to this, they're going to be going to the cities. Probably like LA where, oh yeah, by the way, your assassination with a gun is illegal because, yeah, gun, LA, go figure.
Good luck on getting a permit for that out there. But see, what's funny about it is they don't understand. If they came to our neighborhood fucking around, they would get shot by our black neighbors.
Yeah.
Well, that's something they didn't think. But the funniest part about it is, the part that I find funny is the white babies. They want to kill white babies. That is so adult. I mean, just so mature. To me, when I read that on the thread, I was all, white babies?
Like I said, Hezbollah playbook.
Retarda playbook.
And that's why I said, welcome to the terrorist watch list.
Okay. But I wanted to get onto some facts here, so he's going to shut up now.
Sorry.
Thank you. Let's see. People are now complaining about the murder charges that the cop got. He got third-degree murder, which in Minnesota is basically he didn't have the intent or the malice to kill this man. It was an accident. First-degree murder charge would be causes death, committing, conspiring, or attempting of a felony, and death occurs under circumstances manifesting an extreme indifference to life. Apparently, there wasn't an extreme indifference to life. I want to go back and touch on, that's Minnesota law. You know, you have to have the intent, and it's got to be able to be proven. And right now it's being handled by the FBI. So it is an independent investigation. And people said, well, why did it take so long for them to arrest him? Because what you don't realize is that cops are part of a union. And unions have a certain amount of time that you have to wait. Policemen unions have a certain amount of time, between 2 days and 2 weeks, that you have to wait before questioning the suspect, etc., etc. Normal people don't get that because we are not part of a union. Okay? Now, the murder happened, supposedly, allegedly, May 25th. The gentleman, Mr. George Floyd, didn't die on the scene. He died in the hospital later. The riot started the night of May 26th. On that same day, on the 26th, the 4 cops were fired and then put under investigation. So when you're talking about, oh, it only took a riot to bring justice. No, justice was already on its way. But like always, you guys jumped the gun. Not for justice for the man that died. No. Because of your own selfishness and greed. Sometimes I think that some communities look forward to having shootings like this. I mean, for God's sakes, people. Anyway, the arrest happened May 29th. The investigation started on May 25th. Now, this is what's going to really burn your biscuits, because this is what's burning the family's biscuits, especially the lawyer. They now want an independent autopsy performed, because the county autopsy medical examiner, who's a good person in his rightful career, and I'm sure he comes with extremely good background. I haven't really looked that up, so I can't say. The cause of death: there was no evidence of traumatic asphyxia or strangulation. That means he did not die from suffocation. Go Google the word traumatic asphyxia, then strangulation, and you can see that the knee on the neck had nothing to do with the dude's death. Okay? Furthermore, the preliminary autopsy said it was a combination of being restrained, underlying health issues, which the gentleman had. Let me find where it says that in my notes. Coronary artery disease and other heart issues, and any potential intoxicants in George Floyd's system, meaning the blood test didn't come back yet. So I'm going to explain the autopsy findings to you. They found that it wasn't due to smothering, strangulation, suffocating. It was due to the adrenaline pumping through his body because he got arrested and put on the ground, and that induced and excited and aggravated his heart conditions. And whatever toxins were in his body at the time didn't help. So while you're so quick to scream, oh, that's murder, I'm sorry, but the autopsy goes against that. He was not suffocated to death. And yes, I've actually researched what was in his system at the time, and I haven't found anything. So, that's that. Now, I want to explain that police unions usually are why it takes a long time to arrest an officer. They have a standard waiting time between 2 days and 2 weeks. I want to let you know that the rioters damaged more than 170 businesses in St. Paul alone. And I found the gentleman who owned the bar who lost his livelihood. He's a former fireman, now sports bar owner. Well, now Room sports bar owner. And looters returned during the interview to see what was left for them to take. And I am going to put the link in the description so that you could go to GoFundMe and help that sports bar owner get back on his feet. So far, he's at around $850,000, and his goal was just $100,000. Now, his name is KB Bella. And if you go to GoFundMe, Google KB Balla, Balla, and you will find his GoFundMe. Now, I want to say the statistics of white people being shot by cops is way over the top. They top the charts rather than black people between the dates of 2017 to 2020. Black people are at least 100 to 200 deaths behind us in cop shootings. Now, the FBI states out of the 2,870 black deaths in 2016, 243 are due to white people, and 2,570 are due to black people. That's the FBI. The other one was by Statista.com, where people being shot by cops by race. It was white. More white people get shot. Now, homicide rates were 3.9 times the national average for blacks in 2017. 52% of all homicide victims were black. An overwhelming majority of the perpetrators weren't cops, they were other black people. And that's from the National Review article written by Barry Ladser. So, I did all that research to say this. Number one, the rioting has caused more damage than the death has. It's sad when you destroy your own communities and then blame it on somebody else when the statistics clearly show that you are mad for no reason. But we're mad because a black man got shot by white cops, and white cops never, ever are held accountable. That's bullshit too. White cops are always held accountable. An investigation is always done. The fact of the matter is that sometimes, just like with regular murder investigations, the perpetrator is innocent. The suspect is innocent of the crime. Meaning, literally, cops are not running around shooting black people, unarmed black people, killing unarmed black people just because they're black. And the statistics show that that's a fact, because more white people get killed by cops than black people. Where's our justice? BLM, will you go to bat for us? Please? I mean, your whole thing is police brutality, right? Can we get some love? No?
No love for you.
I wonder why.
Because you're white. It's because I'm white, isn't it?
And we all know in America these days, if you white, you ain't right. And that's sad. But in my conclusion of this statistical and fact-based video, I want to remind you what the autopsy said. There is no indication of traumatic asphyxiation or strangulation, meaning there is no suffocation as the cause for his death. His death more likely was caused by adrenaline of being arrested and restrained by the police, and him going into panic mode, which he had every reason to do. And that agitated and aggravated his heart conditions. On top of that, if he had intoxicants in his system, then more than likely, those aggravated the situation as well. Because he did not die on scene, like a lot of people are lying and saying he did. He died in a hospital, getting medical attention. Now, I don't know if it was due to heart failure, but that could be relevant in this case. All I'm saying is that people are jumping the gun and they're destroying each other's property and they're destroying people's businesses. And you're killing innocent people. And yes, there was actually a killing in Oakland, California, of an officer that usually tends to people that are on protective custody. He was innocent in all this. And usually he's the one that provides security for protective custody individuals. And y'all killed him. Not to mention that destruction of the bar. You did that. Well, we needed to riot because... No, what you needed to do was protest. And have a march. down to the courthouse and protest peacefully. You didn't need to have any kind of riot. Because number one, the investigation was already underway. Number two, they had already been fired. Number three, they were already going to be arrested. And if you know anything about pre-arrest investigations, especially with cops, you know damn well that it's hard as hell to prove a cop guilty. It's a hard case to prove. And so they want to have all their ducks in a row. They want to have all the evidence. They want to have everything and put it under the right charge. Else, like you say, he'd be getting away with murder. So yes, the right charge was third degree. Because honestly, you can't prove he had intent. It's not a racially charged murder. Because he did not go out and say, I hope I'm able to arrest a black man today because I'm going to stand on his neck or kneel on his neck until he dies. And it's hard to prove that he wouldn't do that to another person, even if that person was white. As my research stated, he was a bad cop and a bad human being. No doubt. No doubt what he did was wrong and he should be held accountable. But don't put yourself on a moral high ground when, number one, you're not only destroying people's lives, you're destroying your communities. And then what was really awe-inspiring to me was that the rioters said, we'll be coming to the suburbs next. If you know anything about the suburbs, you know that blue-collar workers live in the suburbs. You know damn well that in the lower portion of the suburbs and in the higher areas of the suburbs, you will find people with A, a gun, B, security, and they won't care if you're out there to quote unquote protest, because you're not protesting, you're rioting. You're utilizing a man's death for criminal behavior, which sickens me, by the way. They won't care if you're out there quote unquote protesting or whatever. You trespass on private property, that's going to be on you. You try to break in their houses, that's going to be on you. Because the law is not going to look and say, oh, well, they were aggrieved because, a black man got shot in Minnesota, so they done broke into a house in Tennessee. The judge will look at them and go, the fuck somebody in Tennessee had to do about it. And down here we have stand your ground and castle law. And like I said at the beginning, 9 out of 10 times, my neighbors will shoot you if they catch you fucking with me. And the same goes for messing with them. I'll shoot you myself. And the odd thing is, I don't live around white people. Me and my ghetto got a love affair. Real talk. I mean, but statistically, autopsy, it stated that he didn't die due to strangulation nor any kind of traumatic asphyxiation. So, basically, the actions of the officer led to his death. That's true enough. But it wasn't him on his neck that led to his death. It was him restraining Mr. Floyd that got Mr. Floyd's adrenaline pumping, and he went into panic mode, and his adrenaline went on into high gear, and his heart was probably affected because he had underlying medical issues with his heart. Coronary disease is not a joke. And yes, for all those out there that are saying, well, he was fine, and then all of a sudden he, with asthma and all that stuff, and he was fine, and then all of a sudden he just died. Heart attacks, last time I checked, and asthma attacks didn't give you a signed, sealed, and delivered letter stating, okay, on March 21st, we're just going to give up and you won't be able to breathe, or I'll just stop. I have heard of cases where a person dies making dinner because their heart just stops. I've heard of cases where somebody with a heart condition was hunky-dory, got out of the hospital, went home, and died as soon as they crossed the threshold.
Yeah.
So yes, the officer was in the wrong. But now you're in the wrong. Because in order to have justice, you must blindfold yourself, not see race, not see occupation, not see poor or rich. You must only hear the facts. And I gave you the facts. The fact of the matter is, the reason why he's being charged with third-degree murder, homicide, is because they can't charge him with first degree without intent. The reason they can't charge him for a race crime is because prove to me in the comment section that he intended to kill this man because of his skin color. Prove to me, convince me that was the reason he did it. And I want facts, I want evidence, I want links, I want all that. And I don't want no links from, look at this, it's a left-wing newspaper.com. Or, hey look, here's a racist site against white people.com. Or, I want to be down with black people, so I'm going to make up this information.com. I want real statistics. I want real evidence. I want real facts that he intended to kill him because of his skin color. Because right now, as it stands, he's getting charged with third-degree murder and second-degree assault, I believe it is. Or manslaughter. Because he did not intend to kill the man. It was an accident, according to the alleged murderer. And just as much time as you give to your empathy of George Floyd, if you are to be unbiased and like Lady Justice, you got to give the same benefit of the doubt to the officer. Now, no, George Floyd was not a perfect man. He was not, okay? But as I've said before, when looking through his records, you have to also look through the officer's records. And pretty much, I think they even each other out. George Floyd was not a perfect man in any of the word meanings. But what happened on that day shouldn't have happened. And it was caused by the officer. And that anyone could prove. Because even the coroner's report says that it was because he was restrained by officers that got his blood flowing, his adrenaline pumping, and that's what caused agitation of his heart conditions. So yes, according to the evidence, the officer did have guilt. But the evidence doesn't state that he had intent. And that's why they can't charge him with first-degree murder. And the reason it took so long is because all policemen are part of a union. And in the contract, they say, well, you have to wait 4 days before questioning him. Or her, or whatever. Or you have to wait 2 weeks before questioning them. But it doesn't mean that justice isn't on its way just because it takes a little longer to get their ducks in a row, all their evidence together, make a solid case to where a conviction happens, especially if it's against a police officer. But then again, if you people were not ignorant, and I'm saying this to everybody that encourages the riots and encourages people to destroy their own communities. This includes Taylor Swift, and she sure ain't black. Okay? But it takes time to do an investigation. It takes time to get everything in order. And it's especially hard versus a police officer because they're the ones who's supposed to be abiding by the law. But you couldn't wait. There's no justice for black people when it comes to cop murders. You don't even wait to see if there is. He was fired the same day the incident occurred. The criminal complaint was filed the same day. An investigation started the same day. But the day after, there were protests, peaceful protests, in the morning and the afternoon, and then the idiots came out at night and started rioting. And they haven't stopped rioting for 5 days straight. What are you rioting about now? Justice will be served. You're not mourning the loss of a black man. You are destroying the memory of him. Because now every time his name is mentioned, they're going to also mention the 170 businesses you rioters, looters, and arsonists destroyed in St. Paul. And then the other cities where you caused so much damage and destruction. It will never be remember George Floyd when people went out to protest that justice wasn't being served. And it was peaceful, just like the man was. So now you got the facts and the evidence. And I keep it real. I don't care what color you are. The autopsy states it wasn't due to strangulation or traumatic asphyxiation. It was due to his underlying heart conditions, being restrained, going into trauma, and into shock, and flipping out, and whatever intoxicants were in his bloodstream at the time. I mean, it's like nobody waits for the facts and evidence. Nobody. So now I think a lot of you need to apologize to Mr. and Mrs. Floyd. You need to apologize. You need to get on social media and apologize to them for rioting and putting a crap stain on their son's memory and their brother's memory. You did that. You did it right the day after the murders by protesting peacefully. And then the idiots came out, and the idiots are still going. But anyway, like I said, I was going to bring you the facts and evidence. You got it now. Go enjoy yourself being dumb. Because that's what you are. You ruined a man's memory and turned it into hate, disgust, disgrace, destruction, devastation. And again, you made it racial. Because none of you can show me in the comment section where the intent lied. And because the guy was black, that this man did that. You can't show me that. You can't prove it to me. You made it into a race situation. Justice was already being done. And you think by your rioting and hatefulness that justice was served? And that justice is going to be served? It was already being served. Because it is statistically sound that out of the 100 cases of wrongful death and police using excessive force against black people, all of those 100 cases are tried and investigated. And the ones that are found guilty are put in prison. So you need to stop lying to yourselves. And to be quite honest, I was shocked to know that white people get killed more often by cops. Nearly twice as many times by cops between 2017 and 2020 than black people do. I was amazed when I saw that statistic. But you go to those other sites where they want to race bait you and make you feel like crap and make you feel like you're a victim. And then you go out to the riots and destroy your own neighborhoods and businesses. And act ignorant as you like. But as for me, I'm gonna wait till all the facts come out to do another video. This is just an in-between video. And I still think the cop was wrong. But I think the rioters